Thank you, John and Matrix. So, for those that are their first time joining us tonight, welcome. So this is part of our BDPA Atlanta monthly series. I'm Shanika Ward, current Atlanta chapter president. So thank you for joining, and we'll be dropping links uh, I guess around how to stay connected to BDPA throughout the evening. So stay tuned. But for those that are, oh, sorry, have some sound coming through. For those that are, again, like first time joining BDPA, just an introduction. So BDPA is a nonprofit membership organization. Um, our areas of focus are mainly on exposing our community to let's see, how should I but we're mostly focused on expanding exposure to like various areas of technology. So whether that's like actual like IT skills or professional development, we try to have these sessions and also promote other avenues to kind of build up your background. Like BDPA, our motto is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. So it's our way of trying to help build equity within the community. So one of our areas of focus is our kind of I guess collegiate group. So that area is still growing. Like down here in Atlanta, we have some connections to like Morehouse and Georgia State University. So that's still growing. I think like during these last couple of years, it's I think that's um, hasn't been much of a focus, but it's an area that if anyone's aware of any opportunities of how to connect with any colleges, local campuses, let us know. We also have our STEM program that's we started for this season. We started back up in February of this year, and we'll be running until just about August up with the national competition. So for that, it's our I guess K through 12 program. So we're introducing students to computer science concepts. They're coming in and learning web development and data science. There's a data science avenue. There's a mobile avenue where they're jumping into potential like development for iOS and Android. And we have like a research area where students get an opportunity to kind of learn a bit more about what research is like if they were to pursue that in like in academia. So that's going on, and we have a number of volunteers that kind of help facilitate that. So if anyone's interested in volunteering and helping out with that effort, reach out to me or Victor, and we can get you connected. And then, like I was saying earlier, like our monthly series, so we also work with professionals. So we host these sessions here to, again, expose you all to various companies like we've been doing a couple times so far this year, and just other, I guess, areas of technology that are interesting and are kind of like, I guess, hot areas. I guess right now. So with that, kind of want to also spend some time to thank our sponsors. So like thanks State Farm for when we were meeting in person, they offered up their office space, so we would host our sessions there. Like right now, State Farm's been helpful with like right now the media we're using for Zoom to kind of bring you this content, and then also Matrix. John has helped us a lot in the past, I guess going on like almost 2 years, or maybe longer, but with content and creating new connections and all the I guess sessions we've been able to kind of bring these last couple years. So with that, I'll hand it over to John to introduce our speaker for today.
That sounds great. Thank you, Shanika. And thank you, CRH. Thank you, Suresh, Diane, Kim, Nia, for hosting with us tonight and sharing what CRH is all about. And look forward to hearing about your culture and the opportunities. I look out one side of our building and I see CRH, and I look out the other side and I see State Farm. So State Farm is Victor's gonna help host a similar session next month with State Farm. So should be great. And we had MailChimp, another great Atlanta company, a couple of months back, do a spotlight meeting like this as well. So I think it's a nice way for us to share with the Atlanta community, give you a chance to brag about your company and the things that you're doing, and share what's going on, as well as be attractive to candidates out there. It's such a hot candidate market right now for employment that anything, it's so important. People want an inclusive culture, so this will be a great way for you guys to share that, and just share your process and things that you look for too in candidates as well. I think that'll be important. People like to hear, maybe not when they're under the stress of an interview process, to hear from people making those decisions. Well, what's important to you, and what do you look for in resumes and in the interview, and certain certifications, things like that. So hopefully we'll be able to weave in and out of some of those dialogues tonight. So anyways, thank you again for being with us. I'm not sure who's Nia, were you going to drive the PowerPoint? And I'm not sure who's going to drive the presentation from CRH, Suresh or Diane?
Few of us are gonna speak. We're actually all gonna speak a little bit. So this way we can give different points of view.
Awesome.
So do you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So just really quickly on the next slide, let us do quick introductions. Suresh, would you like to go first?
Sure, thank you, Nia. John, Shanika, team, thank you first for giving us the opportunity to come and talk about our company. You're right, we like to brag. We like to brag about our company, and I'm hoping that you all get the sense of pride that we have working for a company like CRH. So my name is Suresh Rangarajan. I'm the CIO for CRH for the Americas business. You'll learn a little bit more about the company as we go through the details, but I joined CRH about 15 months ago, and I spent most of my life before CRH at General Electric. And I used to run IT as the CIO for GE Lighting and a couple of other businesses within GE. So excited to be here, excited to talk about our company, and look forward to a good discussion. Diane, do you want to go next?
Sure. So my name is Diane Nachhazel. I have been at CRH for 3 years. I am the PMO director, so I have the project managers and the BAs. Nia?
Yeah, I'm Nia Mallett. I'm the senior IT project manager. I've been with CRH 2.5 years. Diana is actually my direct manager, and then Kim is above that, and Suresh above that. And Kim?
Hi everyone, Kim Lesperance. I am our VP of IT governance, which, hold your hats, because I know that is an exciting role. It is actually a wonderful role. I've been with the company for over 20 years. I'm not going to give you the exact numbers because then I start to age myself. But even before I joined the company for a good 8 years, they were my audit clients. So my entire professional career, I've only known CRH and Americas Materials. So it's a pleasure to talk to you guys today.
Awesome. Hey, and I know, Nia, you don't like to brag, but I do. I do want to mention that I want to brag a little bit about Nia. She downplayed herself a little bit. She won the Global PMI Award as one of, 2 or 3 people globally who were recognized. So we're super proud of her accomplishments, and that's the kind of people we want to join our company. So hat tip to Nia.
Thank you so much. But it would not have been possible if Diane and Kim didn't nominate me. So just I have to give the glory to them to saying, they nominated me for the award. It's a project management award, and I did win. I was one of the 3 people globally to win the award. So this just shows what kind of amazing leadership we have with this company, and that they really support you and drive you and do care about your developmental goals.
And Nia, I'll just jump in on behalf of BDPA. Congratulations, you're part of family, and we love to celebrate family. So congratulations on your award. Now that's extremely exciting.
Thank you so much, Victor.
And go ahead, Nia.
Oh, no, go ahead, Suresh.
No, and it's folks like Nia and Diane and Kim who really make my job really easy. I'll start I'll kick off a little bit with a little history about our company, and then hand off to Kim and Diane and Nia to talk a little bit more about where are we headed from a technology standpoint, and what are the kind of people that we're looking to hire within our company. So I like to say this. I worked in GE all my life, and GE, you don't have to explain. You're GE, and everybody knows GE. CRH is the other extreme. It is probably the biggest company that nobody's heard of, and I think I want to try and change that a little bit today, right? So we are about a $30 billion company globally. We are a huge company, and the Americas business is about $13 billion. It started in Dublin in Ireland, and we're still headquartered in Ireland. And it started way back in the 1930s with two brothers who essentially ran a sand and gravel pit, which you might have, you probably see stuff like that all the time when you're driving by. It's that kind of a really humble origin for the company. And they've grown over time into multiple lines of business, and they've grown through acquisitions, and they've grown organically. But I think the key thing for me coming in from outside is that humble roots that the company had have still stayed true till today. When I joined, one of the biggest reasons I joined the company was how down to earth and humble the leadership was, and how very mission focused they were about what's best for the company and for the employees. And that hasn't changed one bit in the entire time that this company has been in existence. The Americas business, I think, started in about the 1970s. And I think one of the first areas they acquired was in Albany, which is where I'm from. So I actually had my first day in CRH in the Albany business, which is the first CRH business in Americas. And Nia, if you want to move to the next business, we have about 70 to 75 operating companies under the Americas banner in the materials business. So typically the way CRH grows is we grow organically through normal revenue growth, but we also grow very aggressively through acquisitions. We have about 70 to 75 group companies that are all fairly local, very well connected within the local communities, that have deep history within the communities, and they're part of the CRH umbrella today. We try to keep that local connectivity throughout our history. So the folks that you see on the roads who are paving your roads, the folks that you see driving the ready-mix trucks, these are all people in your community who've been working for that community for decades in some instance, but they're part of our company right now. So that global with the local perspective is kind of unique to CRH, and we really strive very hard to keep that going. We're the leading building materials company in the world, and building materials ranges from everything from the aggregates, which are the small gravel stones and the small pieces of stone that go onto our roadways and in our construction business, to our ready-mix concrete business, to our cement business. And then we have a few other lines of business through our group company called the Building Products, which makes things like you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and you see the paving stones out there. You probably don't know it, but you've probably spent some money with CRH. I'm almost certain you've spent some money with CRH, but those are the kind of things where we're very ubiquitous, but we're not like a huge branding company where you see our name front and center everywhere. It goes back to kind of the humble theme that the company has. Construction is a very big part of our business. We work a lot with our state and county and local governments to bid for the roads and bridges and highways that you see. Especially this month is an interesting month for us. This is our Road Safety Awareness Month, and safety is a huge part of our business. As you can imagine, our people, we have about 78,000 people globally working for CRH, and about 28 to 30,000 here in North America. A large portion of those folks are the ones you see on the roads. You see the construction crews with the orange cones out there. There's a really good chance those folks are CRH employees. So for us, safety for our employees is huge. We do everything we can to protect life and to protect from major injuries. And we have that as our number one guiding principle, even above any of our revenue targets. Safety is a huge, huge aspect for us. Nia, if you want to move to the next slide.
Actually, do you mind if I play a quick video so this way we can see your work
yeah.
in the video?
Go for it. Yeah.
All right.
As part of CRH, you are an important member of an amazing worldwide family. A global business that started out locally and has never forgotten its roots. You can trace our history back to Ireland in the 1930s, when two young brothers took everything they had, their meager savings, their grit, passion, and optimism, and formed a family company. CRH began by turning big rocks into small rocks. And from those small rocks, we've built big things. Trust and confidence, partnerships and relationships, homes and highways, schools and skyscrapers, bridges and runways, cities and communities on 5 continents. The CRH family is now over 90,000 strong. We are hundreds of exceptional companies working in thousands of locations in over 30 countries. Like every family, we are bound together by the qualities that set us apart, characteristics that define us, principles that shape the way we work and guide everything we do. We put safety first. We continuously create value. We do what we say and act with integrity. We operate locally, but act as one company and build enduring relationships. While we can count these principles on one hand, wherever we work and whatever we do, they unite our family, demonstrating that we are CRH through and through. Handshake by handshake, every partnership you forge, every customer you serve, every promise you keep, strengthens the entire CRH family. Even though we may be thousands of miles apart, we share a common journey, following a roadmap that's been custom built from the ground up, constructed on a foundation of 4 pillars that chart our course confidently into the future, making our businesses better, focusing on future growth, hiring and developing the right people in the right place at the right time, and unleashing our potential as one CRH. Working together to build exceptional local companies that combine to become the leading building materials business in the world.
Okay, Nia, we could have just played that video and I could have skipped everything I just said.
Back up your words.
That was perfect. And I actually hadn't watched this before, so that's really good. But I think it hit upon the key things: safety, acting with integrity, acting locally, but being a part of the big global company and having the resources that support that ambition, and humility in everything that we do. I think those are defining traits for me about our company. And I've honestly felt like the last 15 months have been some of the best time I've had in my career. So with that, I think those are the pieces that I wanted to cover. Kim and team will talk a little bit about where are we going as from an IT and a technology standpoint, what are we doing over the next few years and kind of what the mission is about. And then we'll delve a little bit into the kind of roles we're looking for.
You can go ahead to the next slide.
Go ahead, Nia.
Okay. So as Suresh mentioned, we're at a really exciting time right now for our IT department. We've, as you guys heard, we took a number of family-owned businesses, hundreds of family-owned businesses that we've acquired over these many years, and we've built what we are today, this leading construction materials business and building industry. But what happened was we grew at such a rapid pace that our systems and our business processes did not keep up with the pace. And at this point, we are faced with a bit of a challenge. Our current systems have grown quite large. If you look at our business platform, right? We have what we might call somewhat of a scatter platform, right? We've added things, we've custom built things to the tune of over 350 different applications. And as you can imagine, a business of our size running on that many applications, there's nothing short of a Herculean effort that our IT team does to support those applications and keep everything running smoothly. However, the problem is that we spend a lot of our time on making sure we keep the lights on and we run smoothly, not so much at becoming a customer of choice or differentiating ourselves from our competitors. And so right now we're embarking on a new journey where we are looking at establishing a future platform that's going to do a little bit more than what we have today. Today, our systems allow us to look back and tell you, how did we perform? what we're looking at building over the next several years is a platform that is strong in standards, so that we can rely on processes and data as a firm foundation, so that we can start to build things on top of that where we can then differentiate ourselves from our competitors. We're going to focus on things where we can start to do forward looking instead of just spending a month to close our books and look backwards, right? We want to make sure that we're enabling our employees to look at predictive key performance indicators, and that our employees can self-serve, and that our customers can self-serve, making it just a lot easier to do business with us. So if you think about it, right now, we're like the bank that you have to go into because we don't offer that great online platform. What we want to be in the future is that banking entity where you can do your check payments and do your direct deposit, never have to walk into that bank, and our customers can do that and everything. So this project that we're currently undergoing is really just one that's focused strong in partnering with our business to say, it's not an IT driven project, to say, what are those processes that we do need to standardize on, get them to understand that having that strong foundation allows us to build more things on top of it that can customize, then make us unique out in the business. And then focus time and energy on, higher performance, superior performance, and making us unique and selling our brand rather than keeping the lights on and fixing things so that they talk to each other and cobbling them together. Go to the next slide. We have a visual slightly of, we didn't show you what our current platform looks like. So for anyone who joins us in an IT capacity, it's a very, very interesting company, lots of opportunities to get your hands dirty in multiple different places. But ultimately, this is sort of the vision of where we want to be, having one single business technology ecosystem, and then having a number of different things that connect into that one system. So having our customers able to connect into that, having our leaders be able to, again, pull off predictive KPIs off of there. It's just a way for us to make those better decisions. This journey for us is, we're just embarking on it. Like I said, we had a discovery period this last year in 2021, and 2022 is really going to focus our time and energy on truly getting a master data strategy. We can define our master data, make sure everyone is focused on implementing that master data structure. And it's also working with our business partners to define what are those processes to give us a strong financial foundation, and make sure then that we're all following along. As you can imagine, one of the challenges we have right now is when we do an acquisition, depending on what region of the country we're in, they may have slightly different processes. So to onboard a new family business and say, okay, we're going to bring you in on our processes. Well, first we have to figure out which processes are we going to train them on, because they're slightly different here than they are over here. So by doing this helps us integrate companies more seamlessly, quicker, as we're talking from one region to another about our data or the process or end results, those KPIs that we want to look at. We know that we're all talking about the same thing, and we can compare ourselves and learn from each other about how to become better, drive that superior performance, et cetera. So this is somewhat of our future look, but it's going to be a very, probably a 5+ year journey for us. So very, very exciting time to become part of the CRH IT team, because boy, are we going to have a lot on our plate over the next several years.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the HR piece of things. So as you can see from the map on the right, those are the numbers of positions, right? And then where they are in the country. So we have lots. I think John and Ken, you probably, are used to seeing things like this, right? There's openings everywhere, right? And we're having a hard time filling them. And AMAT IT is no different, right? But we do, as you know, we do try to recruit the best, right? Obviously, and it's a very much of a family atmosphere. So I kind of equate it to, it's a small company because AMAT IT is about 200 people, right? I would say it's a very small family oriented company with a really big wallet, right? So we have a big company behind us that can invest, right? And so you kind of get the best of both worlds, which means to me that, you know, what I do today. So today I am the PMO director. So I have the project managers, I have the BAs. I also am in charge of tool selection, the PPM tool, right? And then I may get pulled into some other things, right? With an Agile Transformation, for example. When I was at Macy's Tech, that would have been 3 different directors doing that job, right? So the cool part about it is you get a lot of different opportunities here, given that it's a small field company that's really a big company. But it's very simple to apply. You can see the link up at the top, jobs.crh.com, pretty self-explanatory, right? If you want to head to the next slide. These are just a few of the positions that we have open at AMAT IT. I think Nia pulled this maybe a day or 2 ago. Of course, I highlighted the yellow ones because those are the ones that I care about. So, and that Suresh cares about because he needs a new EA and I need a BA and some Scrum Masters. But you can see we have job openings all the way from executive assistant all the way up to regional vice president. I mean, we have a lot of openings, and we are in the middle of an Agile transformation. So we're looking for product owners. And of course, you always need solution architects, you know, security folks, engineers, etc. We also have a lot of interns. I just hired a BA intern for the summer. So if you guys know anybody in the local area, we still have some IT intern positions open. And I think those are really cool positions. We do a really good job of onboarding them and giving them a good experience. And go to the next one. So the interview process. So the interview process, I really like how we do it here. So the management team is intentional, right? So we try to make sure we're intentional about who do we have on the interview panel? Is it a diverse group, right? Do we have the right people who are on the interview panel? Are we interviewing a diverse group, right? Are we giving everybody an equal opportunity for that? One of the things that I do personally is when I have HR send me resumes, I have them take the name off of the resume. I like to just look at the resume without a name at the top because any unintentional or I'm trying to think of the word, unconscious bias. That's unconscious bias. Thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue. It's been a long day. So it helps with your unconscious bias, right? Because we all have it. You can sit here and tell yourself that you don't, but reality is you do, right? So intentional things like that we do, right? And we've made a real effort to make sure that we're casting the net wide when we're looking for our candidates. But then you can see here the interview process. This is pretty standard, right? You know, you apply, our HR reaches out to you, we go through the process. We usually do, you know, obviously everybody with COVID has been doing phone interviews, but we're getting back to normal and starting to do some in person, right? And then the onboarding and I do like the onboarding. So while we may not have, you know, here's the 6-week training program you're going to enter, we usually pair people up with mentors, right? And so to get people onboarded fairly quickly and welcome them into the family. I want to go to the next one. Okay, benefits. So, and I like this map too. So this is just interesting. So we have 3 divisions, right? So we have the North, the South, and the West, right? And then we also have it broken up by the different types of facilities. And it's kind of interesting. Matter of fact, I happen to live in Johns Creek here in Atlanta. And a couple weeks ago, now that everything's opened back up, I took my PM team to a local quarry here in Swanee, right? And we watched them do a blast and we got to drive around and look at the big trucks and you'd be shocked. I mean, there are quarries and all these things right in your backyard and you didn't even know it, right? And literally this quarry was, I think, 1.8 miles from my house and I had no idea it was there, right? So it was just kind of interesting. But benefits here are great, right? So again, it's the small company with the big company backing, right? So you've got great benefits, 401k, profit sharing, all the good stuff, right? And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I say that, you know, a lot of companies have promised bonuses. This company consistently gives bonuses because our business does so well. We are one of the few businesses, at least from my friend group, my peer group here in Atlanta of people that I network with. When COVID hit, right, business actually got better for us, right, because there weren't people on the road, so we were able to do more infrastructure projects. Very stable company, and so I know there's a lot of job hopping going on right now. But one of the things that I look for in a company is it stable? Is there going to be long-term growth? And is this someplace that I'm going to stay for, more than a year, right? And the answer to all of those things are yes, yes, and yes, right? So I've been seeing more and more articles posted about all the job hoppers recently, a lot of them, if you go back and survey them. Matter of fact, I think, John, you did maybe a matrix survey on that topic. And, should you have left? And I think it was like 70% are like, should have just stayed where I was, right? So I think some of this job hopping is going to settle down, hopefully. But people should be looking at things like this, like long-term stability, profitability, benefits, how they treat their employees.
Yeah, whatever people are calling it, the great regret.
I like that.
That they thought the grass was greener and they made it and it wasn't. So
yeah, I haven't heard that one. I like that. Good branding. All right, we'll go to the next one, Nia. Okay, so inclusion and diversity, right? So this has always been part of the CRH DNA, but there's been a bigger push in the last year or two, and I'm really excited about it. So we've actually hired CEDO. We've got Mona Garland, who's joined our company. She's awesome. I don't know if some of you happen to know her. And really putting together some programs and a framework. She calls it a framework of how these other ERGs, we've had a lot of ERGs that are already underway, and I think Nia's going to talk about that, so I don't want to steal her thunder. But she's providing a framework for all of us to start looking at things a little bit differently. So a lot of things about being self-aware, empathy, courage, those types of things as we move to be more inclusive. And I think I've got one more slide, right? Okay, yes. So this slide, I think, is just kind of showing you again the specific inclusion and diversity plan. So we have a global plan, right? That's a corporate plan. But then, as with anything in our company, we kind of tailor it for our own area, right? So America's Materials, as I just mentioned, we just recruited Mona Garland. She's joined the company. We're doing awareness training for managers. We're being intentional about how we hire, how we search for candidates, how we represent candidates in our panels. And then I think even more importantly is what we do with them once they come in the company, right? So how do you envelop them into the family? We have mentoring programs and women in technology programs. We have some ERGs called Emerge and Evergreen. Those are women group, in different locations. And then Mosaic is our Latin American employees. So there's all these different ERGs, but we're also working together. So for example, just today, I invited LaRonda Sutton. She happens to be a business owner here in Atlanta. She's one of the movers and shakers in the film and industry, the film and entertainment industry here. She, the way I learned about her was she was a Woman of the Year last year for WIT in the arts category. And she was so dynamic and awesome. I reached out to her on LinkedIn and asked her if she would join us for our monthly Women in Tech meeting today, and she did. And it was just so awesome. But she was just talking about how it's more important. It's more than just having ERG groups, right? So when somebody joins the company, you don't just say, hey, go join this ERG group. It's more of, hey, let's cross-pollinate those ERG groups so we can better understand each other, build our relationships, etc. And maybe the connection that you have is, hey, I like to garden, or hey, I like to do volunteer work, and let's go down to the Atlanta Food Bank and do that together. And so it was even a bigger idea, even more than just the ERG programs, but more of how do we cross-pollinate there and make people feel welcome and have employee retention once they come into the company. So Nia, I think this is your slide. I think I took some of your thunder. Sorry, I'll hand it off to you.
No, I was just going to say that a perfect example that, for example, Diane, you're very much involved in WIT, and everybody knows WIT in Atlanta. And so through you, we were able to have these speakers come in every year and talk to us about what it is to grow as a professional in Atlanta in different industries. And it's amazing to hear their stories and kind of take a little bit from what their experiences are and grow yourself. And so CRH offers a lot of these kind of things. And for example, I'm in part of the WIT as well as mentoring circles, which is something internal for the IT, where we have small groups of 6 ladies, and we meet every month, and we have topics like how to promote yourself, how to have developmental goals, how to have emotional intelligence of an understanding of who you truly are, and your strengths, and build upon those strengths. So CRH really offers a lot of these opportunities, and the more you participate, the more you grow. Even like Diane and Kim, they for me, since they're my managers, they approve for some training. So I've been able to get several certifications at CRH because they know I have goals to grow and develop, and they approve that and they fund it. And not a lot of companies do that, and that's amazing. And I'm really appreciative of that. That's why I really love the company. And so you can see other examples on the slide that there's all these opportunities and activities and events going on. And I think we do even more, I think, in person. For example, I know we participate here at Atlanta's parade for the St. Patrick's Day parade. We've not been able to do that in the past 2 years, but when they do, like, everybody comes out from the CRH building and they can walk the parade. It's a lot of fun, and I know CRH is now going to lead our activities, kind of in big functions at the office, and I'm sure he has some things planned for us. So it would be kind of exciting to get back.
We're celebrating Diwali, Nia.
Exactly. So it'll be a lot of fun to get back into the office and just see everybody participate and build strong relationships within the teams. Definitely. And just
what does ERG stand for?
Employee
ERG
Resource Group.
Yes,
Sorry.
ERG.
Employee Resource Group.
Oh, okay. Employee Resource Group. Okay, thank you.
And then again, LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us with LinkedIn, we actually have several groups depending on the regions, and the groups post all the events that are going on, and it's great to follow and just see how the company's progressing. Almost every day there's something going on. And we post the job postings on LinkedIn, and Suresh always backs up every posting. So you'll know that's from us.
Great job, Nia, Kim, and Diane.
Thank you. Any questions for us?
Sure, I have a question. So Diane, it's always good to see you. You had mentioned that you're starting on this Agile Transformation. That was one question I was thinking about when you were saying that you're the PMO director. So how is that? What's the plans around that? Can you describe that a little bit?
Sure. So we started last year, right? So, you can't just rip the Band-Aid off on an Agile transformation, right? You have to start with small steps. So we started with, doing the basic ceremonies and trying to change how we're working, and using tools. We use Azure DevOps, and we using some of our tools differently, et cetera, right? Now we're in the process of trying to group our work differently, right? So because we had so many applications, we were kind of application based or just project based. And now we're trying to group that into value streams or products, right? Which is obviously what you do when you're doing an Agile transformation, right? And then grouping the work towards that. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. I would say if you say the scale is 1 to 5, we're probably a 1, right? But we're a strong 1, and we're moving in the right direction. And I think getting the business involved, right, is helping us a lot as well. So, and it's not just me. I shouldn't have said it's just me, right? Because it takes a village to do an Agile transformation. But we're starting to see the payoff, right? We're starting to the business is starting to realize, hey, we're saying things more frequently. We're understanding where our stuff is. It doesn't just go into the black hole once we ask for it and we don't know where it is, right? Now we have a lot of work to do still, and it's really, we have what we call our ITLT here, which is our senior leadership group. So they're playing a huge part in that too, as well as the efforts that I'm doing with the PMs, et cetera, and then training, right? We've had to do a lot of training. We've got people certified in product, CPO, as Scrum Masters, etc. We even had our developers go through some training to understand how they need to think and behave differently, even as a developer, right, on an Agile team. So lots of work though, Ken. I'll tell you, it's, as you know, it's a big lift to do an Agile transformation, but it's exciting.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Following up on that question, Diane, for our folks that will, take an opportunity to watch this later, can you go through maybe some of the struggles you're experiencing as you go through that Agile transformation? I heard you mention some of the retraining and both having Scrum Masters and developers that, have to approach work in a different way. So what would you say are some of the challenges and potentially for our audience, what are some things they could potentially do to make themselves competitive as more opportunities open within CRH?
Right, good question. So here's how I describe it. I think waterfall is easy to, let me start with this. Agile is easy to understand the general topic, right? It's like, oh, no problem. We're going to do these sprints. We're going to deliver more quickly. We're going to showcase. Sounds pretty simple. It's actually pretty hard, right? If any of you have, I see a lot of heads shaking. If any of you have done it, because it's a behavior change, right? It's not just a process, it's how you behave. It's the way you think about things, the way you approach work. It's a different way of behaving, right? And so I would say some of the struggles we have are making sure we're still meeting our business needs while we're in the middle of this change, right? So the business may just call and say, hey, I need this, and what % complete are you, and when am I going to get it? Right? Well, that's not an agile way of thinking, right? So you have to make sure the business understands, okay, we're trying to shift how we're doing this, and we're trying to provide you more value and make sure you're a part of the process along the way. One of the biggest issues I think we have today is our business is so dang busy, they don't necessarily have the time to be there as much as we need. So how do we fill that gap, right? To answer, Victor, your second part of your question is how can people in BDPA prepare themselves? I think, well, A is always education, right? You can never have enough to, education, right? If you want to do, certified Scrum Master class is a 2-day class. You take a 1-hour exam. It's not that big a deal, right? Now, I don't know if any of you are PMPs, but holy cow, that is a whole different thing, right? I studied for 3 weeks. It's a 4-hour exam, right? So it's a little easier to get a certified Scrum Master. And that means you're educated. It doesn't mean you're good at your job, right? So it's how do you apply that, right? So get out there, get the education. It's really not that hard to do that piece. There's so much content out there. There's lots of different blogs, etc. But try to get the experience, right? I think I'm always looking, when I'm looking for people, I would love to have people who are smart and hungry, and I can coach them from there. But I also would be great if they have, experience in Agile, right? Because it's harder than you think. I don't know if anybody else on the panel from CRH wants to jump in there.
No, Dan, I think you did a good job covering it. And I, especially the last point you made, right? I think we are a very forgiving organization as long as the people coming in have the right attitude and they want to work and they want to learn. So a lot of people come in with zero experience either on our IT systems or with our construction business or any of it, but they come in, they learn, and they're hungry, and I think we find ways to put them to good use, and they grow within the organization. So I think that's really most important for me, having that attitude and being able to come in ready to learn and ready to do the work.
That's awesome. I feel like I'm going to have to potentially change my shirt for a little bit as I represent BDPA, but when you talked about going, from what I would consider more distributed platforms to really going into that product model, my assumption is that there will be some technology shifts in that. Are there particular technologies that are at the forefront that our community could, if they have those skills, begin to anticipate some of those opportunities becoming available?
Sure, Victor, one of the biggest things we're doing is, like Kim had mentioned, right? We had a lot of systems we had built in-house, and we're going to more enterprise technologies that are off the shelf, right? That's going to be the big pivot for us. So think of things like Oracle, SAP, those kind of skills. I guarantee we're going to have a need for those. And then the other big piece is data and analytics. Everything that we do at the end of the day is going to be about consumption by our leadership team and the folks who are running our business, and giving them the right data at the right time in a way they can consume. So data and analytics is going to be a huge area of focus for us. I would say integration. So think of, you have a HR system, Workday, you have an ERP, SAP, you have a point of sale system. All of that needs to talk to each other. So learning integration technologies like MuleSoft, some of the other systems there, Salesforce, all of those are technologies that we need, and we're desperate for people who can help us with that.
You had mentioned that you acquired several companies or many companies. How does that actually look in terms of a transformation? So let's say you identify one company and then you want to bring them on board the platform. In terms of turnaround time, transformation, how long does that take and what does that look like?
And today we're still in the planning phase for this project, so we haven't started deploying it yet. That's why I think somebody joining now would have a really good opportunity to be able to work from the ground up in driving a transformation of this size. That's part of the challenge we're trying to solve. We acquire companies at a very, very fast rate, but we don't really have a standard playbook to say, here's how we go bring a company from outside and plug it into our standard operating model. We don't have a standard operating model. That's the problem, right? So we're building that model now. And I think part of it is building that playbook. So tomorrow, if our CEO says, I want to go buy these 3 companies, I can tell him, sure, we'll integrate it into our standard model within 30 days. Within 30 days, they'll be fully plugged in, right? That's the end goal.
Okay.
But we got a lot of learning to do. It's not going to be easy. I know that.
Definitely not 30 days today. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Like,
Kim runs
3 days.
Kim and Eric have been very involved in the acquisitions space for us. So
Eric is our resident expert in that. I just managed to piggyback onto that. But for a large acquisition, we'll have to enter into service agreements. It could take 6 months to a year to fully integrate a company, which, as you can imagine, being the newly purchased company, you've already got change because now you're acquired by somebody else, but now you're shifting over a long period of time to get from the system you've always known into a new system, not always advancing in terms of the platform quality and capabilities. Sometimes they are taking a step back. So it's a bit of a challenge. So we're very excited for this new adventure we're going on.
I just have a question about the culture of your companies. Could you, in a sentence or so, describe what your culture is like? And also, since you're a global company, does that mean that your employees can work anywhere, your IT department, like I can be from France and work for your company remotely?
sure. Joyce, I'll answer the second part of your question first. Our IT functions are still divided by our 3 main groups. So we have a Europe materials company, we have North America, which is our group, America's materials, and then we have a building products group. And largely our teams are just within those geographies, right? So my entire team is based in US and Canada. And I think that's pretty much it. So that's one aspect of it. We do have our teams dispersed all through the country. So I think we have people in practically every state in the country, maybe one that we miss out. But yeah, we're pretty dispersed geographically within North America. From a culture standpoint, I came in recently. It's about 15 months since I joined, right? And I would say the culture aspect of it for me has been a few key traits. Number one, like I keep saying, humility from the leadership down, extremely down to earth and extremely mission focused, very, very aware of our impact on the community and about sustainability. And we're really driven around inclusion and diversity. We're obviously an industry which is not great on inclusion and diversity. Think about it. We're a construction company. Typically what you see are mostly male dominated, largely at the senior leadership level historically has been a Caucasian leadership, very little diversity at that stage. But our company has been super focused on changing that dynamic and very focused on inclusion and diversity going forward. So I think those are some really key things that I see coming in from outside. Kim's probably had the longest stint in this call with CRH. So Kim, you should probably talk a little bit about what you've seen.
I would honestly, and people often laugh at me because they think it's a tagline, but if I had to come up with one word for our culture, it would be family. It is not just a corporation, and that's the biggest thing that you realize once you come in here. When we acquire companies, we don't just, these are family-run businesses. As you can imagine, a quarry business oftentimes is a family-owned business, and then we're buying the smaller, which sometimes they grow to larger, but we're buying the smaller family-owned businesses and integrating it. What you've seen at a lot of other companies is, well, then you get rid of that leadership team. We don't do that because the strength we have in our company is in that local relationship. So while we operate as a global company, the guys and gals who are running these companies locally, they know everybody in the town. They have they are out at the clubs, they're out in the community, they're donating resources, land, time, within the community. They participate in their Boy Scouts, their Girl Scouts, and things like that. And so we keep them on, but what you find is it's not just a one generation. You've got multiple generations of families who have grown up in this business. And so even if you were to look at our leadership team now, you can see some folks who are in leadership positions where they were children when their grandfathers or their fathers or started the company. And so I know people often look at it as a simple answer, but like I said, I've been here for over 20 years. It was another 8 years that they were my client. I have so many peer relationships throughout the organization, and I don't call them to say, just talk about business. There are many of them that I will call or just text on a casual basis, and they become your friends and your family. So it's your work family. But it's
Kim, sorry to interrupt. Apologies for interrupting. I do need to drop, but it was a real pleasure joining you guys. Hope to see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suresh.
So it's definitely one that I'm proud of. It's something that has kept me here for as long as I've been here, and Eric as well has been here just as long, and I think would share some of the same sentiment.
Just to add on to what Kim and Suresh have said, strictly for IT, even it's very approachable. Like Suresh, he's our CIO, and I've been to lunches with him, and I can ping him directly and ask him questions. Same thing, Kim. There's no closed doors. You are able to interact freely and openly and get the answers, and you're not afraid to do that. And then Diane is my manager, and she's very personable, and it's so easy to build a great working relationship and personal relationship with my manager. That really what keeps me at the company, because I enjoy doing that, and I'm very lucky to have a great manager and leaders.
The other thing I would say too, as a woman, is being a woman in a very male-dominated organization. You would think that, or industry, I should say, not necessarily organization, you would think that it's hard to advance. And if you look at some of the groups we talked about in the inclusion and diversity slides, the ERG groups, we have many senior leadership men who are driving those initiatives. They're the ones who have put their name on that and said, we're going to help advance it. And we do that not just, again, for women, I'm just speaking as a woman, but across all those inclusion and diversity areas that we have on that slide, is that there's people who are personally, they feel passionate about it, and they're driving it as those male leaders. So you would think, oh, well, it's a male dominated organization. Yep, they're the ones who are driving the change for our organization going forward. So it's very impressive to watch.
That's awesome, Kim. Could I ask you guys to talk about what sets one candidate apart from another when you're in this market where it's hard to find good people and they have multiple offers, but how do they grab your attention during the interview process? And then I'll have a follow-up question on that, on how you guys, what you do to to get them to lean in, with your groups, as well as there's hiring managers on the call here too. And I think that would be valuable for them to hear and learn, the things that you do to get people to come to you.
So one of the things I think about CRH is the opportunity to shift your experience and your interests. I came in as a controller. My whole experience was in finance. How I made my way into IT is a story that I'm still trying to figure out, because I'm like, oh my God, I went to the dark side. And a sharp, hard left turn, and I still got whiplash from it. But
you went to the great side.
But I'm enjoying it so thoroughly, and the reason is because there are so many opportunities. So what I look for when I'm hiring somebody is somebody who is willing to take a chance. They're not afraid to learn more than what they're comfortable with. So you have to get a little bit out of your comfort zone. I like somebody who's willing to take a risk and say, okay, I might not know everything, but gosh, do I want to learn it? I am so willing to learn something new, and I want to work hard. Those are really the key factors for me. I really think any smart individual can really do almost any job, maybe not every job, but almost any job out there. We don't want you cutting into anyone as a surgeon if you just had a good night at a, Holiday Inn or something. But people can learn things, and I think we forget that. I think we think, oh, you have to go to college and you get one degree and that's all you can do your whole career. And honestly, if you told me 25 years ago that I would be in IT, I would laugh at you. But here I am, and I ask silly questions. Eric might laugh at me. I mean, one of the first things I remember, somebody asked me, what does AD stand for? And I forgot what I told them. I think it was like, I don't even know what the answer was. It was so wrong, though. It wasn't Active Directory. And I thought finance had a lot of acronyms. So you have to humble yourself, because you're not going to know everything. You have to ask a lot of questions, and you have to be willing to open yourself up to working hard and learning those challenging things and putting yourself in that uncomfortable position. But that's who I look for when I'm asking people questions, or I'm trying to find just what differentiates them on their resume, just through the conversations even with them.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer, Kim. I think the only thing I would add, just because I've been doing a lot of interviewing this week alone, I think I've done 6. I'm looking for people who see change as an opportunity, right? So by nature, I think people don't like change, at least most people, right? But if you're going to be in IT, you've got to be enjoying change. You got to be thriving on change. It's got to jazz you up, right? And excite you. So I ask a lot of questions around how do you feel about change, right? How do you deal with change? What if I came in today and said, hey, guess what? I need you to go do this other thing, which may be completely different than what you're doing, right? Because we do that a lot, right? We're a small company. So, hey, I'm involved in WIT, I'm doing mentoring circles, I'm working on Agile Transformation, I'm hiring PMs, oh gosh, we've got this big project. I need somebody who's going to thrive on that. Personally, I love that, because I get bored very easily. Like if I'm not challenged, I'm bored in 20 minutes. And then, I need something to do. I have to say, I've never been bored here, right? There's always something cool to do. And there's always a lot of change happening. So to me, it's what Kim said. Are you smart? Are you hungry? Do you have a good attitude? But how do you feel about change, right?
I've been helping Diane interview, and I would say also executive answers and preparedness. So the position that Diane posts, it specifically asks for specific things that the PM has to have. So you have to read that description and be prepared to answer those specific points, because we will ask you. And then executive answers is just being short to the point instead of talking a very long story. Just say what kind of experience you had, and it will stem additional questions, and it will show you were prepared for the interview.
Did that answer your question, John?
It did. Can I go to the follow-up one though? So let's say you're halfway through the interview and the switch flipped and you're just like, I like this candidate. So maybe share with the group, like, do you shift your questioning and things? How do you get them to lean in to you then, and make, I would assume you'd probably talk about the culture. There's so many good things to talk about your company. That's got to be part of it. But anything outside of that you focus on?
Well, so the example I think of was when I hired Nia, right? So I interviewed Nia, 2 years ago, and I would say within 15 minutes, I'm like, we need to hire this girl, right? Like, she's amazing, right? So I shift to, I am now selling her, right? And this was 2 years ago. Now the market that we're in is even nuttier, right? Like, the second I think somebody's even remotely viable, I'm selling them on the company, right? Because I'm competing with a bunch of other companies out there, and we have a lot to offer. It depends on what that person values, as our values and that person's values have to line up. So is it, hey, we're about sustainability, hey, we've got a lot of inclusion? Is it, hey, we got covered free parking and an awesome gym in our building? We bring in fresh fruit for breakfast. It can be all of those little things, right? You have to figure out what is valuable to that person. One of the questions that I ask, and I actually learned this from my interview when I got to CRH, is in my interview, I was asked, what do you do in your free time? Right? It wasn't the first question. It was maybe like the fifth or sixth, right? And my answer was, I like to play cards. I'm in a card group, right? So we play hearts, and I like it because it's intellectual, there's strategy, but it's also social, right? And I was told after the interview that was one of the things that they liked about me, that answer, right? I've never had anybody ask me that question before. I ask that question. If I like somebody, I ask it every single time, because it tells you a lot about that person. Like, hey, I love to travel, or I like to work out, or I really like to do volunteer work, or whatever it is. And then I can tailor how I sell my company to them based on that answer. Well, hey, we got a gym in the building and it's freaking awesome, and you can do yoga at lunch, right? If they're really into fitness. Or, hey, we go down to the Atlanta Food Bank as a team once a month, and if they're into volunteer work. So I can tailor how I sell it based on what's important to them. But in this market, the biggest thing is just act fast. I mean, man, you can't wait a second or they've got another offer, right? So your HR process has to be streamlined. And that's another nice thing about working for a, quote, small company. It's a phone call to Kim. It's not 50 layers that I have to go through to get an offer out there, right? So I don't know if anybody else wants to add a little bit to that.
Well, I just know that Diane hired me because my answer was I play tennis, and she used to play tennis also in Atlanta. So she was like, oh yeah.
We'll totally get along.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Also, just to add to, oh, sorry, Kim.
No, it's okay. I was going to say, it definitely usually transitions to more of a personal conversation, just trying to get to understand the personality, because now you've established that they've got the qualifications, you've already flipped that switch. Now it's, how are you going to interact with your peers and your coworkers? And, are there any red flags there? Are you a social person? And you don't even have to be a social person, but can you communicate effectively outside of a planned, discussion about your resume and things like that? Just how do you interact with other people? Because it's so important, whether it's, spoken communication, your body language, do you text? I guess for more of the millennials out there, right? I'm very interested in their communication skills. How are you communicating with me? I'm old school. So can you look at me face to face and have a conversation? And is it uncomfortable for you? Or are we, is this easy? Versus, some of them are definitely much more comfortable with a chat or a text, or just send me an email on it. And I think you don't really build relationships that way, right? You've always got to have the sense of the face to face, the handshake, and just get to know somebody, just understand their body language. Go ahead, Mia. I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, just one question that I've been asking with Diane when we were doing interviews. Like, tell me a success story of yourself. Have you received any awards or accolades, or some project that you did that was very successful and you were praised for? So it kind of brings the attitude of the candidate to tell a successful story and have a positive attitude during the interview.
That's awesome. Great stuff.
One quick question. My phone had been going in and out.
Sorry, John.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. What's the size of your technology team? You say small, but I didn't hear a number. And then another question is, I think Suresh mentioned we have people all over the place, but do you have it sounds like you have an Atlanta office, and do you still bring people together? Is everybody working remote?
Yeah, great question. So our IT team in the Americas Materials Group is about 250 people. We've tried different things over the past several years. We had completely dispersed IT where they were all out at operating companies. We seem to shift, every several years. Then we moved to more of a consolidated IT team that was based in Charlotte. Then we moved to the Atlanta, and then, not everybody wanted to move to Atlanta. And so Atlanta is still our preference for an IT market, because it's just a lot easier when you can collaborate and you're physically there in person. But as we've all demonstrated over the last 2 years, that's not critical to your success, right? One of the things I would say is we do have people working remote. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Now, when it's not COVID, I was in the Atlanta office, I think, every other week. So I felt like I lived in Atlanta at times. We offer flexible working environments right now. So we're working from the office 2 days a week. It just starts up again next week. So this is our first full back to the office in 2 years. But then people are working from home 3 days a week. And when he says we're all over the place, we are in Canada and in many different states all over the US. So we're dispersed, but and I would honestly say, and I don't know the numbers, but I don't even think the majority of our team is based in Atlanta. I think the majority of our team is remote. We have a core team in Atlanta, but we're not all there yet. Even Suresh is still not yet moved there. He had to wait for his daughter to graduate, go to college, and now he's working on selling a home and then eventually moving to Atlanta. So.
Okay. Do y'all have any offshore resources or just all onshore?
No, we do. So not that are full-time employees of ours, they're contractors. And this is something we've just started to adopt in full over the last several years. So we have NTT, or Intelligence is who they used to be. They are an offshore resource who helps support our SAP application that we run in Canada and in our Florida cement business. And then because we've been dealing with varying levels of project requests and workloads, we're trying to get ourselves established with flexible resourcing partners. So Matrix is one that's helped us with contractors, from the project managers or business analysts. But we also have been working with a company called TCS for some offshore resourcing, especially in our areas of data and application development for skills like MuleSoft and I would be kidding if I told you that I knew a whole bunch of other development languages out there, or things that you have to do. Again, I'm a finance person, but things of that nature is what we've been using them for. So we're just branching out into that, but we're planning to continue that strategy of using offshore resources to help us support run activities so that we can take our team and put them more into project and product enhancement activities.
All right, thank you. How has the supply chain affected your company? The issues with the supply chain?
Well, from a technology standpoint, I'll tell you, we manage telecom switching, and now we have a backlog of about 18 months. So let me tell you, when I have an acquisition, what I would normally close out in 6 months, I'm holding open for 18 months because I can't even get the switching equipment in to install in the acquisition. Things like that are a challenge. Some of the computers, we have some arrangements with Dell. And we ran into some bumps there in terms of actually getting computers for a period of time. I think we're back on the regular cycle now. The supply chain for us, as you can imagine, to make asphalt, we need liquid that comes from a terminal. And so the fluctuations in your oil prices and heating prices significantly impact our asphalt business. Cement, we do have our own cement companies here, but if we have to purchase cement at any of our other organizations, that has been a challenge in the past. China's a large supplier of cement, so sometimes the things that are going on, that supply chain runs a little slower. And definitely inflation right now is just hurting us overall. As you can imagine, we sell our product, but in some cases we have to deliver the product. So the aggregate will deliver to a construction site, or will deliver ready mix, which is the concrete in a concrete truck. There's fuel associated with that round trip, and with fuel prices, I mean, as you can imagine, it really hurts us a bit. And you can't, it's not that you can't, but it's a challenge to just push everything on to your customers, right? So we have to think about how to do that in the best way possible from an economic standpoint, make sure we don't hurt our customers. There's only so much out there from an infrastructure funding. So if your counties and your governments are spending money just on, the increased price of the product, well, it doesn't mean that they increase their spend. They have a set spend, and so your quantities now decrease. So we're constantly balancing that flow, especially in this kind of an inflationary period.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I think it's hurting us like everybody else right now. But we stay strong. We get creative and we think about things, and we just become more efficient in how we run our business. So I am actually very impressed with how CRH, they're almost virtually a zero debt company, very cash rich company. So they're very fiscally responsible with their balance sheet, which enables us to do things like acquisitions and continue to keep things going when we do have, times of higher inflation. They just seem to manage their financials at an exceptional level. Did I cut somebody off again?
I think so. Any other questions for our awesome panel? Thank you guys again so much for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having us. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us.
And Victor, tell Derek I said hi too.
Will do.
Probably working out, right?
I guess if we were to, promote CRH, within our social platforms, what would be the top 2 or 3 jobs you would say focused on technology that you'd want us to promote on your behalf?
Well, I know what Diane is going to say.
Scrum
Masters, okay.
But you saw from that list, and we have so much open right now. I don't even know where to focus, to be honest, Victor. Top 2, I've got, we've got technical jobs. We're always looking for architects. We're always looking for Scrum Masters and PMs. We're looking for BAs. We're looking for everything, really. I feel like we're not unique in that right now, right?
No, we aren't. And it's just, I would say there isn't one that weighs more heavily than any others. They're all positions that we desperately want to fill. That's the nice thing. We don't post a position and then, 6 months later, never mind. These are things that we run a lean IT department. And so when we have turnover or anything of that nature, we want to get somebody in there quickly. So I would say if you ask any leader over any one of those jobs, any of the hiring managers, they're going to tell you, this is the most important one right now. But definitely, I would say they all hold equal value.
Awesome. Awesome.
And we'll take any promotion you want to do, Victor. So thank you in advance.
I saw you were getting love from other BDPA chapters, upcoming to this event. So thank you, Shanika. I know you had something to do with that. So, but I saw BDPA in Huntsville and in Washington, DC, one other place show some response to the posting for this evening. So you're getting exposure.
That's awesome.
Good. Yeah, and this will be, this session's clearly being recorded right now too, and it'll reside, on the BDPA Atlanta website. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
And we appreciate you guys. Awesome. Shanika, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, probably just for anyone that wants to reach out related to just maybe asking any questions, do you all have any point of context, or is it kind of reach out to anyone that was on the panel today?
I think that'd be fine. We're all on LinkedIn. We all were very responsive on LinkedIn, and pretty easy to find with our last names. So,
Yeah, and I just put in the chat, and you would follow the same format for all of us, but it's first name dot last name at na.crh.com. Feel free to reach out anytime to any one of us.
Great, thank you. Well, thanks everyone for joining, and thank you for all of the insights this evening. I think it's been great to hear from you all's perspective. So, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for a great evening.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have that future data processor apply to one of our jobs.
Absolutely. I'll be working on it. I'll be with you stay in my arms. I'm hands-free now, finally, but amazing time get some insight on you guys. And thanks for the information for your company. It's very insightful. And, it's appreciated to have people that you could just have a good conversation with that we have from those type of circles to get a real personal relationship. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That's great. You take care.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thank